I'm getting a bit shy by these words, but thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. We're going quite a big step from a philosophical discussion to quite practical topic on supervising the AI Act. So I work for the Dutch Authority on Digital Infrastructure, and maybe a lot of you have no idea what a supervisor or a competent authority is doing. So if most of you have a cell phone and you expect it to be working, you expect it's not going to make you ill because it doesn't use too much energy and gets hot. You expect if there's a major incident that you can still phone the emergency call 112, and you think that's normal, that it should work like that. But it doesn't. So there are, for example, my agency is responsible to make sure that those things are work, that the telcos are making sure that it's working, so it's safe for consumers, so it's relevant for consumer trust. It's important for societal safety in case of incidents, but also for a kind of level playing field, that all the telcos in this case can compete on anything, but not on a kind of minimum requirement on safety and security. And now we're also supervising AI. And when it comes to AI, what are we doing? In fact, our role is still exactly the same. So even with AI, we look at how can we keep society safe, how can we make sure it's safe for consumers if they're using AI, and how do we make sure there's a kind of level playing field within the different players on the market. So also when it comes to the AI Act, from a point of view of a competent authority, these are the things we should focus on. And I think in that case, this is very important both for consumers but also for providers, deployers, everybody making AI. So often it's said that there might be a kind of trade-off between innovation and regulation, but when it comes to new technologies, in my field, for example, when it comes to telecom standards like 4G or whatever, it's often a combination of standards, legislation and enforcement which enables a lot of innovations. So I don't think there's a trade-off between innovation and regulation. So I'm telling you the story from the point of view of a competent authority. So I'm just a competent authority. I'm also, together with Sven, responsible for the whole AI supervision within the Netherlands, as well as the chair of the European Working Group. And the main title of this topic was how EU member states are advancing towards the compliance of the AI Act. Well, in general, quite well. Better than most other regulations, but I'll come to that later. But we don't just check the compliance with the AI Act. As a competent authority, like I said, these are the things that you want. So if there's an AI within a medical device, or if there's an AI in the telecom infrastructure, we look at, is it still, what does it mean for availability, for integrity, for safety? And we have different legislations that you can use to supervise and to enforce in case you think it's necessary. So often just supervising AI, already now based on current legislation. We don't need the AI Act to supervise AI. So in the last few years, we have done some research and some enforcement on the way people, for example, in trust services under the eIDAS regulation are using AI. We are going to check it whether or not it's safe. So it's not something new, it's something that's already there. If it's in a medical device or if it's used for handling personal data, then Sven is already into place. So we're already supervising AI, and we have now also an extra instrument, the AI Act. Because it's already there, we're already supervising AI, we started with a European Working Group of competent authorities since 2021. So already in the last 3 years, we're already large network of all these competent authorities, including also the European Commission, ENISA, and also UNESCO is since last year part of the working group. So already trying to get everybody on a higher level, sharing information, trying to get a uniform approach so we can try to achieve a level playing field. And sharing the information and discussing a lot of use cases really helps all the competent authorities within Europe to speed up and to move in the same speed, which is not very easy because there are a lot of different skills of the different countries, the amount of expertise that they have. But by working with such a big group of competent authorities, meeting every month, I think we really have already made a lot of steps. And now the next phase is that we're going into implementation of the AI Act. So it's not something we need to start. One of the things, our previous speaker from UNESCO, we're collaborating with UNESCO as well. So it's not just at the moment on the European level, but also coming to your question, Sven. On a global level, of course, it's very difficult because legislation in the different parts of the world will never be the same. I'm sure that the US and China will never accept that other countries in the world will determine how the AI legislation will be in their country. But like I said, we already work together since 2021 and also within the Netherlands, and then you have competent authority on medical devices, on healthcare, on labor market. And you can still learn a lot because you still have to deal with the art of how to supervise an AI. What kind of general approach can you do? So even within different legislation, you can still work very closely between competent authorities. So we're now, together with UNESCO, are looking into kind of global collaboration on supervision on AI. So even if the legislation doesn't get uniformed, we're going to look at whether or not the competent authorities can collaborate on a global level. So what do we try? Because we really try to get a kind of balance between the regulation, the standards, and innovation. Like I said, in telecom, it's quite useful to it's quite common actually. And then it comes on how do you, as a competent authority, are going to approach the supervision of the AI Act. So I'm going to let you see how and in a way, this is also what I'm discussing within the European Working Group as well, how we try to approach the compliance with the AI Act. So first of all, in case you don't know, it's product safety regulation, which means that if you want to put it on the market or if you want to start using it, you need to be sure it's safe before you start using it. So you need to do your assessment prior to putting it on the market, maybe third-party conformity assessment. So you need to do a lot of things to make sure it's safe before you put it on the market. The same like fluffy toys for kids. You don't want it to kill kids and then check it. No, it needs to be checked before you put it on the market. Just like cars, they need to be checked before you put it on the market. High-risk AI systems will require the same. The AI Act says it's a risk-based approach, but also from a point of view as competent authorities will probably go into risk-based approach, which means low risk, low attention, high risk, much attention. I don't expect almost none of the providers of AI systems will be fully compliant with the AI Act the moment it all comes into force. Because we're still working on the standards, we still need third-party conformity assessment, we still need to appoint notified bodies or whatever. But you need to make sure, if a competent authority comes by, that you have done your risk approach, that you know what are the main risks and that you're working on the main risk and mitigating the main risks. Competent authorities, also based on the AI Act, will have a more proactive approach in contrast with a lot of other regulations. So there are already sandboxes within the AI Act, or which is kind of innovation dialogue between companies and supervisors. As I said, we're going to take a broad approach. So we're not just looking at the AI Act, we're looking at products, we're looking at services, are they safe? And if they're not safe, we're looking at what kind of legislation do we have, and the AI Act is one of the tools that we have. But we're not just looking at just one aspect. And with that, we try to be innovation friendly. So on the one hand, we need a balance between it must be safe for people, we don't want to take any risk, but at the same time, you need to be flexible in case of innovation. If it doesn't really comply with the legislation, you need to be flexible to see whether or not it's sufficiently compliant, or if there are mitigating, or sometimes you can try to reach the same thing in a different way, and as a competent authority, you will need some flexibility to deal with that. So that's what we're going to do, try from a competent authority point of view. Now I'm going to take you into the complexity of supervising the AI Act. So there are a lot of different legal frameworks that everybody needs to comply with. It's on the data side, it's the Data Act, Data Governance Act, you have the Digital Services Act, Digital Market Act, but on the cybersecurity, you have the NIST directive and the RED directive, the CRI. So there are a lot of different legislations already, and they're with different competent authorities, but they all relate to AI as well. So we need to combine it. So within the AI Act is already the forbidden AI. We have the high risk, the transparency demands, and the general purpose AI supervision. These are all on national level. These are all on European level. And then you have all the vertical regulations, so multiple high horizontal, like CRA and the NIST directive, but you have a lot of verticals. Every sector has their own legislation, and they all need to be aligned in a way. Or if you look at it as a competent authority, you have, like in my agency, we have about 20 regulations that we need to take into account in our backpack when we go and look at the system. So we're not looking just at one thing. We're going to look at the product and trying to coordinate, because at the same time, there are about, in the Netherlands, about 15, 20 competent authorities, all just supervising the AI Act, probably. They need all a similar approach. And then, times 27 of all the different member states within Europe, and we also have the European Economic Space, where they follow the AI Act mostly as well. And they all need to be aligned. Well, welcome to our world. So we're working on it, and it's not going to be finished in a day. So it's something we're going to work on in the next few years. Just to get some idea on, because when we start with AI, it looked quite simple. Just going to very quickly through a few slides just to get the idea of the world we're living in as a competent authority. So my assignment in the beginning was, we need to supervise AI. There wasn't an AI Act. Can you make sure we're going to supervise AI? So first, you're going to organize within your own organization which different parts, because everybody will, in time, will need to deal with it. So you try to organize it, but then you think, do I need to do everything by myself? No, I want to collaborate with other competent authorities. So you start a European or a Dutch working group of competent authorities. But it's different ministries that are involved, so you need to connect with all the different ministries because they have different policy, and at the same time, you need a uniform approach as a competent authority. It's all European legislation, so we started with the European working group, the competent authorities at AI. Then we needed some more expertise and a broader view, so we were able to get UNESCO to support us. And then all the things we're doing, collaborating, on all different AI sites, standards became more important. The AI Act came into place, and slowly on, more and more. So it's not really about the scheme, but I'm showing within a few years it really explodes in complexity. But that's our problem and not yours. So the idea is that we're trying to organize it in a way that if you're a company or if you're a user of AI, it should be simple. If you're a financial, if you're a bank, you still want to deal with the same supervisor. In the Netherlands, we're going to organize that you're going to the same supervisor. And behind the supervisor is the network of all the competent authorities that all try to see how are we going to do. And that's why you need a dialogue between the companies and the competent authorities. So for companies, it should be relatively simple, and the complexity is for the competent authorities. But what do you need to do? As I said, I don't expect everybody to be finished at day one, but what is the main issue that I'm going to ask if I, as a competent authority, visit you? I'm going to ask who within the organization is responsible. I want somebody in the end, if it's nobody, it's just the CEO we're going to take into as a responsible, but we're going to ask who is responsible, because somebody has to be responsible. So don't take that lightly. That's the first point of entry. Who's responsible? Then the second thing you need to do is, it's product safety regulation. So you look at it from a product point of view. All the product and services which are under the AI Act, which do I sell or which do I use for public services? So which product do I have? Then the second thing is there, depending on the AI Act, an AI somewhere in the supply chain, maybe not in yours, but maybe from somebody you buy the data from or whatever, but you need to look at your supply chain. Is there an AI as described within the AI Act? So that's yes or no. As soon as it's yes, they say, okay, then I need to know what is the intended use. And as soon as you can see what is the intended use, then you know, okay, it's forbidden, it's high risk, it's transparency, or none of the above. And as soon as you know which category it is, you can start doing your risk analysis. So if I come in as competent authorities, these are the first questions I'm going to ask. And if you have done none of these, even if not all the standards have been approved or whatever, if you don't have done this, then as competent authority, I think, okay, you're not serious about safe product safety regulation and you have a problem. If you've done all this, but in the end, not everything completely, at least I know you're on the right track. And based on the risk analysis, of course, you need to see whether or not you need to do mitigating measurements. It could be that you think, okay, at the moment, it's not under one of these categories, it's not yet high risk. If not now, then when? A lot of things that you think, okay, it's not yet an AI, but maybe next year, in 5 years, in 10 years, well, it's a long time. Not this month, but maybe in 6 months or in 12 months, it could be AI. Or the product is not yet high risk, but it could be that tomorrow there's another customer that wants to use it in a different use, which is a high risk case. And then, so if you start checking the things, the requirements, especially for high risk, try to start looking at it from day one, just like record keeping, because you need to show that you're compliant with legislation. So you need to get your paperwork in order, you need to get your supply chain clear, you need to see if you want to buy products from third parties, make sure that in the contracts are the sufficient requirements so you're able to do conformity assessment once it's a high-risk product. So these are the things, so even if it's not yet, try to anticipate in order to have a lot of problems later on. I think this is the last slide. Sven, I give it to you.
Yes, thanks so much, Huub. And I have to say that I was impressed how you were able to make a neural network out of how we're setting up the supervision. So, good one there. I think there's room for one question. Anyone has a question? I see the same hand. There might be another hand. Somewhere over there?
Someone over there.
Oh yeah, there.
Green sweater.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tim McGar from BSI.
Hi.
So I was really interested in what you said about the link-up between the competent authorities. So, I mean, there are lots of outstanding questions about the Act, so how sandboxes will work, for example. So what's the best way to find out the latest thinking from a broad set of competent authorities? Is that in the public domain, for example?
I think the AI Act is now into place. That means there's at least now formally started the AI board, and the AI board will be responsible for setting up some things like guidelines, but also talking to the different member states, because different member states are in different phase on regulatory sandboxes. So in the Netherlands, it's in a pilot phase, it's up and running already, and a lot of countries everybody's organizing in a different way. I don't know if I would expect that the European Commission would say something about it, but at least look at your own member state, since it's still it's in the early phase. So regulatory sandboxes are often started at a national level. There are a few countries that are discussing whether or not they're multiple, but at the same time it's all national. So you should go to your own national authorities.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for the Netherlands, the recommendations that we have made on how we think, together with all the supervisors, on how supervision should be set up under the AI, that's out there in the public domain, those recommendations. And our third and final one will be published in a couple of weeks' time, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a point of reference for at least how the supervisors in the Netherlands are thinking that this should be done. Huub, I'm going to thank you for your presentation and then move on